In life, we're taught to fight, to never give up, to resist until the very end. But in the game of power, resistance is not always strength. Sometimes surrender is the smartest move you can make. Welcome to Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Transform weakness into power. This law is about flipping the script when you're weaker, outnumbered, or cornered. Don't fight to the death. Don't resist just to prove a point. Instead, surrender strategically. Yield today so you can control tomorrow. The trap of fighting to the end. Many people believe that fighting to the last breath shows courage and honor. But in reality, it often shows pride, and pride gets you destroyed. When you resist stronger forces, you burn energy, you lose resources, and you make enemies more determined to crush you. Your downfall becomes dramatic and permanent. But when you surrender, you rob your opponent of satisfaction. You disarm their aggression. You live to fight another day, stronger, wiser, and better positioned. Historical example: Napoleon and Russia. In 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia with one of the most powerful armies Europe had ever seen. The Russians knew they couldn't match his forces in open battle. So instead of fighting head-on, they retreated. They surrendered territory, burned their own crops, and let winter do the work. Napoleon took Moscow, but found it empty, abandoned, and unsustainable. His armies starved, froze, and collapsed. The Russians had mastered the surrender tactic. They yielded ground temporarily, but in the end, Napoleon's empire crumbled. The psychological weapon of surrender. When you surrender, you unsettle your enemy. They expect resistance, drama, struggle, but instead, they're met with acceptance. This confuses them. It softens their rage. Sometimes it even earns you sympathy. Your weakness becomes a form of control. You dictate the rhythm of the conflict, not through aggression, but through patience. The art of delayed victory. Surrender isn't defeat, it's delay. You give up the small battle to prepare for the bigger war. Think of martial arts like judo. Instead of meeting force with force, practitioners redirect energy, letting the opponent's strength work against them. That's what surrender is, a redirection of power. Modern applications. 1. Business. When a giant competitor enters the market, don't waste all your resources fighting head-on. Step aside, study their moves, and wait for weaknesses to appear. By surrendering in the short term, you prepare to outlast them. 2. Arguments and relationships. Sometimes proving you're right isn't worth the cost. Yielding in the moment preserves the relationship, avoids escalation, and gives you space to reassert yourself later. 3. Politics. Leaders who step down gracefully often return stronger. By surrendering power temporarily, they rebuild their image, wait for rivals to stumble, and return with renewed influence. Case study: Nelson Mandela. During his 27 years in prison, Mandela could have fought stubbornly, resisting every demand, every compromise. Instead, he used surrender as strategy. He accepted his confinement, outwardly yielding, but inside he built relationships, studied his enemies, and prepared for the future. When freedom finally came, he wasn't broken. He was more powerful than ever. His surrender turned into one of the greatest political victories of the 20th century. How to use the surrender tactic? Know when you're outmatched. Don't waste energy fighting battles you cannot win. Yield gracefully. Surrender with dignity, not desperation. Let it look intentional. Stay patient. Use the quiet period to rebuild strength. Turn the tables. Let your enemy relax, believing they've won, while you prepare your comeback. Never surrender forever. Make it temporary, strategic, and purposeful. Final thought: in the wild, when a smaller animal bows before a predator, it often survives. Survival is not weakness, it's strategy. The same is true in life. The strong who fight recklessly often fall. The wise who surrender live to rise again. Law 22. Use the surrender tactic. Because true power isn't about fighting every battle. It's about knowing which ones to let go and when to return for victory. If you want more interesting videos, click right here.